We're good
get
to have you
started.
kind of kick off the whole event.
Kick it off. And then Jess, has the live streaming actually started, or is it about to start?
Tanya is just about to start it. We wanted to make sure that we're all kind of set and good to go, and then she'll kind of click that and get it going.
Okay, so I will wait to be given the cue to start from Tanya.
Okay, we're live.
All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us and making the time to either be with us here live or to be watching this recording. This marks the very first of a series of sessions of a virtual film festival and creativity summit that we are organizing at Taking It Global in partnership with Adobe support, and today's session in partnership with Fully Focused and a group of filmmakers who will be sharing self-introductions, who are the people behind the film Remarkable Young Black Women. The theme of our week is community films and exploring creativity. It's June 23rd, 2020, and I mention this in case you're watching at some point in the future. And I'm speaking to you here from our Taking It Global headquarters office in Toronto, Canada, living on and working and gratefully here on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, including Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Huron-Wendat, and many, many other Indigenous nations. This is a very important gathering place throughout thousands of years, and so I really am grateful to be here today and in good health. And I wish all families, people watching of all ages, that you're watching hopefully in good health. We have been navigating a global pandemic. We support youth projects through the Adobe Creativity Grants across countries around the world, and organizations, community organizations such as Fully Focused, have been navigating how to support youth during a global pandemic and during times of great uncertainty. And typically, while we use technology in many beautiful ways, it's really important to gather together in person. So it's been hard, you know, and if you think about film, I mean, yes, people can watch through the screens. We're all connecting right now through our screens. But just to say that the programs at the local, national, global level, we've all been modifying to reach youth and families. We've got children watching. Maybe some of you have grandparents or elders watching. So really across generations, we've been adapting. And so initially we had hoped to host an in-person gathering here, though that hasn't been feasible, of course, because of the pandemic. But here we are gathering virtually, and we're hoping to spark conversations. This is one of many throughout the week. We've got conversations with over 35 young filmmakers this week from 4 different countries: Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Sri Lanka. And we have supported youth, though, from over 40 different countries, I will say, over the years with the Adobe Creativity Grants. And this week, though, we've curated some films across themes of identity, environment, social, and political issues. So throughout this week, we, in addition to having Q&As, we have 5 professional development sessions that are especially tailored to our partner organizations and youth who are filmmakers or aspiring creative. Films are one way to express creativity. Some youth identify as filmmakers. Some may be aspirational in their identity as filmmakers. Maybe it's a path, but all of us have the potential to be creative. And so what I'd like to do now is give our team of filmmakers at Fully Focused a chance to introduce themselves. So we have Ikram, we have Dumizia and Mohammed, and possibly one other team member, but we'll start with Ikram. If you want to share each of the filmmakers a bit of a self-introduction and your role within the film that we'll be speaking to today, Remarkable Young Black Women. Thank you.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Ikram and I'm a filmmaker. I initially decided to get in about 4 years ago, and it's been an amazing journey so far. the film Remarkable Young Black Woman, I had directed it along with Demitzia and Mohammed, who were part of the team. We had a great time making it. And in terms of my background, I initially came from like a social science background with the intention to become like an anthropologist or sociologist, and I was really interested in cultures and finding more about people and sort of sharing their story, but more in journals and books. And for me, film was actually a more creative way, which I decided to explore, and I'm glad I did. So yeah, Remarkable Young Black Woman was the first film I had directed, and before that I had worked on other projects, and yeah, I had a great time working on my own projects, and hopefully I can make more films in the future.
Thank you, and I look forward to learning a little bit more about that experience. And also how you got connected to Fully Focused. I don't know if you wanted to share that now, but maybe it would help with the introduction, as they're an important partner of ours.
Yeah, I can go ahead. With Fully Focused, when I joined, I had watched a documentary they made. It was about the riots which happened in London in around 2011, and I was taken aback because it was a film which actually spoke to like the experiences I had. How it was covered in the mainstream media was totally different to like stories I was familiar with. And then I found out it was actually made by a team of young people, and I wanted to hear more about it. And at the time, I was exploring filmmaking as an option. I wasn't set on it. I was just interested in it, and I didn't know anyone who sort of was in the industry. So I sent out an email and attended one of the Thursday meetings that we have every week. And yeah, the amazing thing about Fully Focus is to join, you don't really need to have any film background at all. It was almost a training ground for me. So I learned everything about filmmaking. Like that was the foundation of it, and picked up my first camera there, and met great people along the way.
Oh, thank you for sharing that introduction. And Demitzia may be one of those people that you met there, I guess. Is that right? And Mohammed. Yeah. Demitzia, would you like to share a self-introduction and talk a little bit about your role within the film?
Sure. Hi, I'm Demitzia Salicest. I live in London, like Ikram. My background, well, probably from my accent, you can tell that I'm Italian. But I've been living in London for the past 5 years. My background is actually documentary photography. So nothing to do with film. I came here to study photography. So after university, I did journalism and photography. While I was doing a project about housing crisis in London, I met someone from Fully Focused. I was on the field doing a documentary project, and this guy approached me. He was like, I'm part of this great production company, and I think you'd really like it. And I have to say, at the beginning, I didn't really know a lot about them. I just went to a Thursday meeting, just like Ikram said. And to be honest, that's where my career in filmmaking started. I honestly didn't know much about film except watching them, because I was a photographer. And now I'm really, with Fully Focused, I've started to do more documentaries and also short films, drama short films. So they really, I would say that my turning point for my filmmaking career was definitely Fully Focused. Yeah, they're great. And I met Ikram. I think Ikram was already there when I joined. I think she joined just before me. And I knew, maybe you can't even mention it, but she was also interested in photography before, so I really connected with her, I think, on that level. And then, I don't know, we just like started speaking, and she said that she was interested in doing this project, and I was on board from the very beginning. So that's how Remarkable Young Black Women started.
You must have had a role then with the photographic lens in your mind, that eye in the shots. I found that the images were powerful, and just in the terms of the placement of the camera as people were being filmed, whether it be the B-roll or the interviews. Did you have a role in any of that then with your photography background?
Yeah, I would definitely say like most of it comes from my photography background. Yeah, I didn't say actually I was the director of photography on the documentary. Guys, can you still hear me? Or
Yes,
yes?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry, I thought my connection went. And yeah, so I was the director of photography, so I was also camera woman on
Great.
set with Ikram. And that, yeah, so I definitely, my background as a photographer really helped. But I have to say, it was Fully Focused has really trained me as a camera woman and in direction of photography. Shout out to Bunny, which is one of the director of photography in Fully Focused. He really, really took care, like helped me with my craft.
Yeah, well, what a great way to learn, not just with theory, but having a real project and to actually create content that has an important message. Mohammed, would you like to share a little bit more about your background, your introduction, and as well as your role within the team in this film?
Yeah, my name is Mohammed. I'm a writer. I started writing. I can't say exactly when, but I started getting into script writing. And while I was looking around for different places where I could submit my writing, I came across Fully Focused, and I'd been watching them for quite a while. And the things that they were doing, I was really inspired by it. And finally, I had the chance to be able to join, and that's where I met Ikram Domi, and they're really interesting people. I was really inspired by like the passion that they have for like their own specialisms, and over the course of 3 years, I think I don't know how long exactly, I just continued to work with Fully Focused on a variety of different projects. And then recently, Ikram told me about what she was working on, and her idea about documentary about young Black women. And I've been talking to her. I'd like discussed it before like Thursday meetings and stuff with her. And one day she just said, "Oh, do you want to help on set?" And that's sort of how I got involved with that. And it was a really interesting experience. Hearing from the woman, one of the women who was in the documentary.
Yeah, and just even thinking about your skills as a writer, I'm curious because the film, for those who haven't seen it yet, it features three powerful women, Simona, Asma, and Toby, and they each have aspects in their own stories and strengths that are something that may not like very, very multifaceted and skilled in different areas. And I'm curious if you played a role in writing any of the questions for them to be able to share or bring out those diverse experiences and talents that they have that may not be obvious. I don't know if this is a good question for you, Mohammed, but just as a writer, if you could share how you might have integrated your writing skills as you were opening up the conversations with these three women.
So Ikram was conducting the interviews, and she was asking all of the questions. But beforehand and afterwards, I was able to, like talk and have conversations on set. So those were really interesting, but I didn't actually ask any of the questions.
Okay. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, well, because it's interesting though, where a lot of the content, you're not writing a script. People are sharing their own stories, and so maybe Ikram, I can then move the question back to you, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about how you chose the people that you featured in the film, and how you developed the questions in terms of what you invited people to share, on camera, and where your hopes, if you feel like you met what you hoped in creating the film, and in the dialogue that you provoked through the questions that you asked, because they were all very enlightening. Even at the beginning, like, you hear the quotes, right? And you hear these great words of wisdom that obviously came because there was a space that was created where each of the people featured, they felt comfortable to share that experience. And it comes across not only as unique, but people's stories sort of weaving together. So it was really well edited, and yet I don't even know, like, if the three people even knew that they were each complimenting each other so well, like if they even met each other, or they were completely just distinct interviews that you guys wove together as a team. So can you tell us a little bit about your process, the creative process, and the questions, and the selection of the people that you featured?
Of course, yeah. Well, I'm across that way because initially what the idea was to have, for Black History Month, have a profile on 4 different women, and it would be separate episodes, so one a week. But just the time and not being able to secure a 4th person, and so we ended up actually combining all into one story, and the editing process was very difficult in trying to find out what linked them all, but in terms of trying to get the inspiring ladies, I think it was based on like a mixture of people I've come across, whether it be on Twitter, just seeing them speak about what they're working on. Toby was very active on Twitter with her project on Black Ticket Project, and I had attended one of her events, and I just thought she was a very inspiring person, and I just wanted to know more about her background. For me as a filmmaker, I think everything always starts from my own curiosity. I'm always curious to find out about things, and that's where it really stems from. So I wanted to hear more about their own stories for my own purpose, but also I wanted to share with the wider audience that we had at Fully Focused, and it was important for me to have a group of women, Black women, who were diverse as well. For me, being a Black Muslim woman, I found that a lot of videos or just articles out there, when it like spoke about Black women, it always iced the Black Muslim woman as well, and it was important for me to have that. So I was really glad that Asma was happy to be part of it. And Simona, we had actually worked with at Fully Focused. She's been in a lot of the short films that FF have produced and directed. So we actually had that relationship with her. Like, me and Domi had met Simona before, so it was great to get her on board and have that comfortability with her, and already knowing her story, but also about what was driving her outside of acting, because initially I just are all interested in one form of creativity or expression. So it was use that to tie all stories together, but it was like what I wanted to concentrate on was the DIY aspect of it, like just going out and doing it yourself and seeing what comes from that. if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
don't remember what else you asked.
that's okay. I gave a lot. Yeah, I'm thinking also as a director, and this is the first film that you directed, correct?
I had done a short which I wrote as well. So part of like being in Fully Focused is like you're allowed to sort of explore everything and anything you're interested in, so you can really like put yourself out there. So I had directed a short scripted film which I wrote myself, but this was the first like completed documentary project I had done before. I've worked on other documentary projects which I had to um, and weren't able to finish because one of them, the girl whose story it was, she just didn't feel comfortable going ahead with it. And I think that's what a lot of documentary filmmakers like. You might be given permission at first, but that permission can also be taken away, and you have to be able to respect that and stop working on it, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I mention that is that developmental opportunity that you're being provided, that's very much, and this is, you know, why we're partnered together, is because our organization, in the same way that Fully Focused, you know, we believe in creating those opportunities for young people to learn, develop the skills, and create something that is a meaningful opportunity and learning experience for others. And this leadership role that you took on as director, I was just wondering if you could speak to the roles that you asked of Dumizia, Mohammed, also Joseph, or any other team members. Obviously, to this panel right now, we have 2 other panelists right now. And if you could just talk a little bit about their unique strengths and how you assigned the tasks that you asked of them, like being, if you're in the industry and you have you produced a very high quality video production, and respect for the stories, respect for issues related to representation, and the narratives that are shifted by the people maybe who had maybe in their and maybe you could talk a bit about who your audience, your intended audience, but as you described earlier with Fully Focused, the role of the media, like there's certain narratives that play out in media that were also described in the film, and you're creating this new kind of feature. And so in the team work and the work behind the scenes, like how did you approach Dumizia and Mohammed in what you asked of them to help you with this film? Because they may have had the expertise, or maybe they didn't. Maybe there was a learning curve for them as well. So I was just curious about your teamwork and role as director, and what strengths you felt were most helpful in their roles with this film.
Sure. I think the most important thing with the group that I had for this project is we were all friends, all worked together on other projects. So it was different in that sense, but also because I knew what Demitsia's strengths was, and I knew what she was capable of. And I think for this, just wanted to sort of elevate our previous project. And in terms of strengths, I think Demitsia's strength is she has a really good eye. So in terms of like framing, she's very great at that. And I think as part of documentary, you don't have that much control over like the settings you're given, and it's all you're always responding to the circumstances you have, and one of our main challenges was to show these great women, strong women in their element, and I think she was able to capture that really well. So like with Asma, when she's playing basketball, we were just in the middle of a very busy train station, and to be able to do that with everyone walking around, and I think that goes to show what her strength is. And I think in terms of like leading a team, I think it's always important to give people that space to do what they do best. And for me, the main focus was on the story and doing the interviews and making the girls comfortable in front of the camera to be able to express themselves. But I think Demetsia can talk more about her role as the DOP and how it was for this project.
Demetsia, would you like to elaborate on that? And also maybe even like the challenges, yeah, like on your role, and also challenges or roadblocks that you guys may have faced, and how you guys overcame that, either you in your role or even as a team.
Sure. I'll start with the challenges. The challenges was definitely like time was a big one, because we said this, October was our deadline. So we had to, change literally the structure of it. As Vikram said, it was going to be 4 episodes and ended up being 1. Because, even if at the end we got, I think, the last person, but there was not time to film it and put it together. And that was a big challenge for us. In terms of like filming as such, when you film people that are busy and, they're doing so much, you have to, for them to find the time and for you to find the time to be available when they have finally found the time, I have to say, the people that we interviewed, they were really good at that. And also, I think like Simona in particular, she is such a I don't know, an empathic human being. So I think with her, even like the conversation, it felt like going out on a on a normal day with friends. And she was, I don't know if that shows for you, if that shows in the film, but she was I think we were all very comfortable. Like when Mohammed said about I was able to talk before to Simona and after, it was really true, because after actually we finished filming, we stayed in the place where we were filming for another like couple of hours, and we just started to speak a lot about she asked around. She was like, okay, what are the 3 things that you're grateful for this year? And I think that's also the power of documentary, and the power of having a team while you're doing documentary, is kind of having those conversations while you are doing a job in a way, but you have those conversations that don't only enriches like the audience, but yourself while you're doing it. And that's why I love documentaries in general. Yeah, definitely. If you have more time for a project, that's just a plus. Is a plus, because you can really follow the people in a certain way. And another challenge that we faced, it was probably equipment wise. I now have much more equipment, but at the time I had to borrow the equipment. So from this great DOP is called Bunny Mandy, that is part of Fully Focused, but I had to find a way when he wasn't using the equipment, and then trying to make everything fit together. I think that's where our challenges were that's where we found more challenges.
Yeah, and those are real challenges. You're right. And it's just that it's like a Tetris game of time, and okay, this person's available, this person's not available when we have the equipment. So Mohammed, would you add anything in terms of challenges from your perspective, and and where you overcame in either you directly or what you observed among your team members?
That's a hard question to answer. I think it was hard being on set doing something that I wasn't used to doing. I'd been on set and like different things before, but it was because there were fewer people than usual, and because there was like a lot of equipment I was like carrying and stuff, and touching and like taking people, and like I kind of felt out of my depth a little bit sometimes, but it was a supportive environment, so it wasn't too challenging, I think.
Yeah. But maybe intimidating, right? Like even carrying all this expensive equipment and being responsible for it and making
Yeah.
sure that everything's set up correctly,
Yeah.
things like that.
I think Domi and Ikram are like really experienced in that, and so that that kind of wasn't an issue because um they never asked too much of me. They
Uh-huh.
already sort of like knew what they was doing and how to handle the equipment.
Yeah. So if you had to say, like, if looking back on what you learned, because I know part of this opportunity was to help, learn and develop. Um, I have two questions for you, Mohammed. One is about, what are some of the most important lessons that you learned, whether it be specific skills or through the content that was shared, and also like on the theme of, remarkable young Black women and the subject matter itself and the motivation that you had as to be part of this project and to release this film. Like so one is like, what are your lessons learned from the past, but also what are your hopes for carrying the messages out that were expressed in the film itself, and hopes for the future of this film?
Um, I think um, one of the main takeaways for me was just uh, learning to appreciate like the expertise of like both like Simona, but also like the mixing and everything that they do and know how to do and stuff and are experienced in. And it was just like I don't know, I I knew they were good at what they did, but and every time I've been on set with Mitzi Mikram, I've always like learned a lot from them. Um, but this was just more of a space to learn about like them and yeah.
I think like Mohammed is very curious. So while we were on set, he actually asked me a lot of questions about camera and audio things. So he's trying to be humble, but when he's on set, he's very helpful as well because he's always like there to provide a hand wherever is needed. It's true, like his specialty is writing, but he's very, yeah, I would say curious. I would say that's the right word. So he's there and asks a lot of questions. And he usually like speaks when he's needed, and if he's speaking, it's something really important. So yes, that's
Yeah, those are
what I
two
would say.
like that's actually a skill set of versatility where, with someone, and especially working with a director and working with a team where there's a vision in mind, and you're trusting the person that you're working with, or the people that you're working with, that are kind of driving the vision forward, and to be available to say, what help is needed, or to be able to ask questions. Those questions can basically help light the pathway of the next step, right? Like, okay, did you need me to bring this or that, or did we want to put on this lighting, or did we want, is it so actually, I appreciate you highlighting those types of skills, and yeah, even just being able to observe, Mohammed, in this brief time of this discussion, I sense that that's a skill set that you have, right? To have that curiosity, to make those observations, and you could even offer support, like right now my water bottle's almost empty, but like if you have people that are speaking and all of a sudden they have a crack in their throat, like maybe you would even think to go offer them some water as an example. I don't know if that's a task you took on, but that's what I find, like in teams, that if you have people that are curious, that are open to learning, and that are flexible, in terms of what they take on. Those skills are so important to effective teams. Mm-hmm.
And I think in documentary it's very important to observe in general, because it's true, especially with the type of documentary we did. It's you have to kind of wait a lot of the time for the right moment, maybe to take a shot. Some of them are B-rolls, but you have to observe the scene. It's not like when you have dramas and short films, they're fictional. You always have a script and a shot list, and with documentary, you kind of have to wait for it most of the times. Some shots you create, of course, they are reenactment, but some others you just have to wait until it kind of happens. And be observant, I think, is a key thing.
Yeah.
In a documentary.
Definitely. Well, I would like to hear a bit more from all of you, Ikram, as the filmmaker, as the director, I should say, as the person that held the original vision for the film. You may have the most to say, but perhaps everyone has something to say about their hopes for the film. As a viewer, it was powerful to hear, like with Simona speaking to experiences, about acting and that journey of auditioning and getting yourself in that, mental space, emotional, the different exercises, just being able to be, I guess, stage ready. With Asma, the spoken word, as a spoken word artist, and then, with the basketball and having aspects of advocacy that is important to just be able to enjoy, right? The love of the game, and to see, well, all of them, see themselves as role models, with Toby as a producer, also with background in community arts admin, background in organizing festivals and theater, like just thinking about the breadth of experiences. Like when I was watching, I thought of a few intended audiences. One was other young people who might be inspired to think that there's a lot of options out there, a lot of career options out there. You can, and the mindset that you can get yourself into when you're applying for things. The other audience I thought of was industry, like in the creative industry. I thought it would be a good educational film, because sometimes when roles are written, there's a lot of bias that exists in the entertainment industry, in the educational space, in across all these jobs. And so I would love to hear from you, maybe starting with you, Ikram, and then the others can share as well. But your hopes for who you want this film to reach, and maybe some of the changes you would like to see come from the people watching the film. What changes it might inspire for people. I know a lot was achieved through the film itself, but if you wanted to add any words or hopes, and maybe there's people also watching, maybe they can host a film screening. I was even thinking, like, yes, we're doing it this week, but even as I'm speaking to you, maybe we dedicate one of our future staff meetings and everyone just watches the film itself, right? Like maybe there's workplaces, maybe we bring it to boardrooms, maybe we recommend it to be shared in different contexts. So I just wanted to give you guys a chance to dream out loud a little bit with us and hear who you want this film to reach and the changes you're hoping to see come from that.
I think I want it to reach young people who are in the creative industry, young people who are not sure what they want to do. But for me personally, I think what the documentary was that quote that I used by Angela Davis, which went along the lines of, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change, I'm changing the things that I cannot accept. And I think those three women showed that. They went out and saw how things were as the status quo, and they wanted to make that change, and they did it. And so for me, and it was also a great reminder for myself as well, just hearing about their story, that there is a lot of things in society that we're not satisfied with, and it's up to us as the next generation to actually demand that change and seek how we fit in that process of change, whether whatever small role we want to take part in. But I think that's what I wanted the audience to take from it, just to drive that. But also, I think I wanted them to take away from it that there's role models in every corner that we look at, whether they're on a national profile or not. And also, I wanted to just share that journey that they went through. I think with success in life, we're just shown the end process, like, yes, this person is like, whether for a filmmaker, this person has won an Oscar, do you know what I mean? But rather than actually looking at what it took to get to that process. And one thing I want the people that do watch this is that they shouldn't limit themselves. There's different avenues available to us, no matter what age we're at. And yeah, I think that's a really great idea in terms of the audience being people in the industry as well. I think that will also like allow these discussions to open and for dialogue to happen. So yeah, it's great to have like it reach places wider than I initially had intended when I made the film.
Oh, that's so great. And feel free if you know, if Dimitri or Mohammed, if you want to comment. I did want to add, seeing as you mentioned this was maybe a new idea of industry screenings in boardrooms, employee training, I don't know. I was just thinking as well, like if this was something that people watched, maybe there could be like a discussion guide or sort of ways where people might have like follow-up conversations to the film screening. And you know, I'd be willing to pilot something with our own little team at Taking It Global if that's something that you guys wanted to do. We'll be offering honorariums for your time this week, but that could also be future income. Like even if you think about just the time that it takes to talk about your work, and there's always guest speakers, right, that are booked for professional training. And so even as we're talking about careers in the creative industry, there's the work around the filmmaking process, and then there's actually, you know, and sometimes people don't get paid to promote their works, but I also think that the work you've created, it's very valuable, and I wouldn't not think of that option, like where you could actually charge a fee to talk to people in different spaces, and to even maybe think about the biases that may have within their industry. Of course, they would have to book you, so it you know, it requires a little promotion there, but you know, I'd be willing to. And then also there's the for-profit and the non-profit sector, so you can always have rates that maybe they vary a little bit. But I think that one of the powerful aspects of filmmaking is that it's how you feel right after. And depending on who you might watch a film with, those people may be part of the debrief, and so that might be something to think about. And that's also why we've organized our summit this week, actually, to encourage people to, you know, watch the film, have the dialogue with the filmmakers, or at least for us to have the dialogue about the film and for people watching, but then also to think about how we can expand our creativity and the work in the creative industry. It's in creating the content, it's also in the dialogue that follows. And there really a lot of quotes in there also. That was the other idea I wanted to share with you all. The featured people are, there's a lot of quotes that you guys could take as, I don't know, tweetables or in social media realms, so you could continue to share linkages to the main film, but also little clips, smaller clips to help promote it. You know, sometimes people have a short attention span in social media, so you could pull even 60 seconds, or those are just some ideas if that was of interest. But also I hope that you could, I don't know if you guys have further proposals to do maybe more films in this area together. But definitely it could be a portfolio piece, like when you're applying for grants. Just the fact that you guys produce this film, you guys would definitely, either in the arts sector, or maybe with Fully Focused, there could be some, who knows if there's other grants to continue to produce this this kind of content. So maybe I can just open it up and ask each of you, I don't know, Dimitri, if you want to go next, or Mohammed, maybe if I can come to you. I keep going in a certain order, but Mohammed, like, can you share any of your future hopes and aspirations, either specific to being part of this team with this film, or just in general for you in your filmmaking and writing journey as a creative person?
I think like what you said about there being questions connected to like after the film when people watch it is really interesting, because what was in the film obviously isn't the entire conversation, and there was a lot of conversation that was had, that was like of value, but obviously you can't keep everything in, and people definitely benefit from like having conversations about that and like coming to different conclusions about what the topic spoke about means. And obviously, like for me, it, it was interesting to see like who the real people were behind like their success stories, like what made like them go for the things that they went for, and sometimes like when we see like writing of like of about like black people and about women in media, there the story sometimes centers too much up on their identity as opposed to like who they are as individuals. And obviously those things come together, but it's about balance, and it's interesting to see like in real life that there is balance, and so that's definitely something that can be learned from it in terms of like the more creative industries, is that like people taken into consideration like who each person in a story is, and yeah, I don't know if I answered the question properly.
Yeah, no, it sounds to me like you're fascinated to continue both, like basically helping to continue the conversations, because when you're talking about this film, it's like there was so much more to the conversation that that's like a past, present, future, like the that this filmmaking and is contributing to the conversations, and just that concept of balance. Like I appreciate what you're talking about there too. So yeah, just any additional reflections from your other team members on hopes for the future?
Sure. Well, first of all, I hope that the film is watched a lot, from like that a lot of young people watch the film. I think that I agree that it should be brought to board meetings, and what you suggested, I think it's but I really want young people to watch the film and be empowered by it. People from different backgrounds, and so I think that's my hope for like that film as such. For the future, I don't know how much I can say about this, but me and Ikram are working on a new project, another documentary. But we are really in like pre-production stages, and yeah, we have to put a lot of things together. It's in Gratefully Focused too, but it's going to be probably a longer form. But we are in the very, very pre-production stages. So that's, I think, part of what's going to be the future for me and Ikram as a team. And I'm sure like a lot of people from Fully Focused team will be involved, but we are at the very early stages of this. Yeah, anything else that you want me to add? Or?
No, that's great. I'm excited to hear there's another film in the works. And Ikram, I think the last word will go to you as far as any additional reflections on your hopes for the future, either for you, professionally, either for the film itself, or just for the social change that you're creating in general as a creative professional.
For me personally, I would be interested to see young, remarkable Black women in other cities, whether it be Toronto, whether it be Sri Lanka, like all the network that you have. So just other filmmakers to go out and seek out women who are making change. And for me, just to see that, and I think it's important for people to see that on a global scale. And on a personal level, for me, it's just to create, like Domi said, we're collaborating on another project. And for me, I'm interested in like documentary in all mediums, whether it's photography, whether it's radio and film. So just experimenting with all those different formats and create and share stories which are a reflection of the people that I know and the society that I'm part of.
Wow. Yeah, beautifully put. And I just want to thank you, Ikram Dimitia Mohammed, for taking the time to share your experiences with us today. I want to thank Fully Focused as a community partner for just doing such great work, helping to develop the creativity skills of so many young people, including each of you. I also want to thank Jessica and Tanya on our team who've coordinated everything throughout the week. And Jess, is there any last announcement that you might want to make before we wrap up?
Yes, I just want to say thank you again so much from the bottom of my heart and our teams for having the three of you join us today and just speak so passionately, not just about this film that you created, but the work that you do with Fully Focused, the work that you're continuing to do, how you've grown together and still developing these amazing skills. I actually also wanted to share some comments from some people who have been watching live. So a few of our other participants have been joining along via the YouTube. And one of the comments, you are so inspiring from one young colored woman to another. And so Ikram, I think that was directed to you. And then also as a team, it says truly inspirational and remarkable people here. Thank you guys so much for sharing everything. And someone else has written that your goals have definitely been reached. You are a very inspiring group of people, amazing filmmakers. We have lots of high fives and claps and some trophies showing that everyone's just so excited for the week ahead and just having you guys start us off with this beautiful session. And it's definitely not going to be the last that we hear from you. And it's definitely just the beginning of something beautiful. So thank you very much for joining us again today. And yeah, a round of applause for you guys and for everyone else. And we're really excited for what the rest of the summit has to hold for us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. It's been an honor to be able to share our experience with you. And me too. I'm really looking forward to the sessions, the next few sessions.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of the week.